Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Stay on stage. On-chain revolution. Done this. Boom. On-chain. Hey, on-chain revolution. Bitcoin not an illusion. Market recaps and I do a roll call. You're not bullish in the vocal. Look at the price action. Yeah, send it to the deck. Sell it through the stack. Ordinals the best. Too much Bitcoin, gotta go to read. If you end up bearish, gotta put the knee pad. Let me see the comments. Look at the fear and greed index. Bridge. Look at the chart.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What is up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the On-Chain Hour, and today we're getting the strategy for you guys. If you don't know what I mean, the Pizza Ninjas just went live with their pre-sale. We're going to be covering that. Node Monkeys with the fumble last night. They messed up an airdrop. How do you mess up an airdrop? I don't know. But they're supposed to go live today, and they are not. So, but we're going to cover that. They did buy 101 Node Monkeys last night. It was insane to see. I watched it live. Incredible moment in Ordinals history. It'll be something that we look back on for a long time and see these strategies. So that was the first one, Node Monkeys today. It's the Pizza Ninjas. Everything's supposed to go live on Radfi this week. We're going to have Scott on the show this Thursday, locked it in. So you definitely want to check that out this Thursday. If you have any questions for him or anything about these strategies, that is the episode you do not want to miss. So definitely check that out this Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. He'll be on the show right at like 11:30. So that should be perfect. Show today, huge Polymarket. Polymarket just raised $2 billion from one company. They're valued at over $9 billion right now. Imagine, coming last year, you get your house broken into. They take your phone and all your laptops, and then this year they the New York Stock Exchange people who own it actually give you $2 billion. Imagine just getting $2 billion like as a company. Like, what do you start doing, right? It's just incredible that this is crypto, guys. The crypto is the new hottest thing, and people are throwing money at it, and that money's going to trickle down, and that's how we're all going to make money. So Bitcoin down today, Ethereum down today. Doesn't mean much, right? We needed a pullback. If we have green candle, it'll eventually hurt us. So this is actually really good. So don't look at your bags today. Pay attention to the new things. Start learning. Figure out what these strategy companies are going to do. Because I put out a video yesterday, basically saying, what's happening in crypto is normally we jump from meta to meta. Last cycle, it started with DeFi. It got into NFTs, eventually got it into metaverse, and I finished it back off with some DeFi. And this cycle, it seems like it's perp dexes. It's the strategy plays as right now. So understanding the strategy plays, I think, is actually going to be huge for you. Understanding this before everyone else does, and you do have some downward momentum today on a lot of these. So there's a lot of opportunity, whether you want exposure to the punks or the Node Monkeys or the Pizza Ninjas and so on and so on. But I think every big NFT project, every big ordinal project will have these strategies. They're really cool. I mean, they're going to be buying the asset, right, at the same time burning the token. So we're going to cover all this stuff today, guys. Really excited for today's show. Really excited for this week. And so let's get the show started. Bringing my partner here as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
What's up, man? What's your strategy? So right now, what's your
Well,
favorite one right now?
Well, obviously, you look at the overall market and you see how Punk Strategy kind of laid the foundation to show how it's done, right? There has been a pullback with that though. It got all the way to right under $300 million market cap, right? But an interesting thing that just popped into my mind was is the native Web3 and crypto Twitter, the high level intelligent people that are a part of that, because there's a lot on the opposite side of it as well, right? But are they learning from TradFi a little bit here in terms of an approach of creating some excitement? TradFi used the digital asset treasury type approach to kind of pump some of these coins. They're obviously starting with the blue chips, and then now you see the crypto natives, the Web3s that are saying, "Hey, look, we believe that crypto punks are a valuable digital asset, so let's create this mechanism that has." Essentially a digital asset treasury, but also has a flywheel to kind of raise money, right? And so, you know, I think Ethereum was really great to kind of kick that off, and I think this is something that could sustain a bit because we've seen it like in TradFi. Obviously, completely different. One is highly regulated, one is not as much, but they're mimicking a little bit of this approach, right? So now we have the Node Monk strategy, which I feel like it kind of flows into their character. What happened last night? If you remember the Dutch auction for their Ordinals launch in 2024, there was a lot of controversy behind it. Initially, you had Raktoshi and his team saying they were going to do a free kind of airdrop to certain Ordinals holders or whatever the stipulations were for that. Went completely against that as it got closer to launch date and said, hey, no, we're going to do a Dutch auction, which everybody just was so upset about. It turned a lot of people off, but he followed through with it. It was a successful Dutch auction, and then you saw the market for node monks eventually explode up to having that $50,000-$60,000 floor. So I expect them to have success with this as well, even though there is a little hiccup here. Now, Pizza Ninjas, I do feel like they can kind of steal a little bit of the energy here, and it seems like they have a little bit, not intentionally though. I did see yesterday Trevor on his timeline and when he was on Bongo Show that he does want to respect the fact that Node Monks was first and wanted to give them their launch first. But when you kind of fumble the timeline a little bit in terms of when you're going to launch and stuff, they got to kind of follow through with theirs a little bit here. So they're going through their pre-sale right now. That's something that being transparent, I did participate in. I think that team is strong with their VC and funding type of approach here. And we'll see what happens if this can really create the liquidity event that Ordinals and the Bitcoin ecosystem needs.
Yeah, 100%. Let's actually just jump into that because it's the first topic. And, just if you don't know what Yagobi's talking about, yesterday, the Node Monkeys, they had this tweet. So they were post-go live yesterday. They did their airdrop, and the airdrop did happen. It just was unsuccessful to the point of people in the timeline were talking about, hey, I paid for 300,000. They gave me $1 million. People, I paid for $1 million. I got 300,000. So everything was jacked up. So they came out and they said, hey, tonight's Radfi launch is canceled. So one thing here, the wording a little bit is canceled, right? Instead of, rescheduled or something. Final checks surface outliner drops. Some wallets got more, others got less. On L1, we can't claw back tokens, so we'll have to re-etch it and deploy it. So pretty big mess up there. They go on to say, good news, we can include late wallet connections. We're going to carefully take 1 or 2 days to triple check the allocations for everyone before relaunch. Sorry for delay. Thank you for your patience. So they're out calling it a relaunch. They're not so the wording here gets me a little bit, right? So they're basically saying that they messed up. They're going back to drawing board. It's almost like they wanted it to mess up. It's almost like this was maybe a little bit, I don't know. They want the launch not to be great in the beginning because that's what that's going to do. It's going to bring more anticipation. I don't know. Do you think potentially this was, I don't know, done on purpose?
Look, I'm not going to speculate and say that it was.
That's our job is to speculate.
I know, but on this specific thing, because I don't want to make a statement because I don't have that strong feeling of gonna say.
I'm asking your opinion. We're not looking for facts here. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a facts-driven type of person. I'm an analytics guy, I'm a digital marketer, so I'd look for that. If I were to guess, I think that they just fumbled the airdrop. Now, let's play a little devil's advocate here, and because I'm sure that that's what you're going to do. And does it benefit them to kind of create a little havoc? Absolutely, because what happens, you start to bring down the floor price for the Node Monks, right? Last night, Node Monks got to $9,500, right? Right, heading towards 10. This happens and it peels back, and now we're sitting at 8K floor price, which is still pretty healthy. But people, giving it that 2-day period too that they put in there, that gives another day today for people to kind of simmer and say, man, this is so annoying. I'm going to sell my Node Monk. I'm going to do the Pizza Ninja thing or whatever, right? And then that allows them to purchase cheaper Node Monk floors, right? So there's a lot of strategy behind the scenes for sure. That is something I will speculate on. But to see how many Node Monks will get bought up, I think between now and probably tomorrow is going to be give us some data to kind of say, hey, did this really kind of happen for that reason?
Yeah, 100%. As you can see here, 119 Node Monkeys sold yesterday. If you go over to their website, you can see that they bought 101 of the 119. So they spent, about 5 Bitcoin yesterday, and they purchased 101 total nodes here. This is kind of cool too, because look, they have a long bucket, a mid bucket, and a short bucket. I guess they're going to start putting Node Monkeys in these to kind of show you like what they're waiting for at sell points. I don't know if this is good or bad for traders of Node Monkeys, because you're going to be able to see like pretty much behind the scenes of what the largest
where they're
going
going
to do.
Yeah.
And right now they have 101. They still have 20 Bitcoin left. Let's just say they get them for the same price. You're getting about 400 to 500 Node Monkeys here. I mean, that's pretty massive. That's that's 0.05 of the supply. No, that's so 1,000 would be. So yeah, that's like 5% of the supply potentially could be held up by this one entity, which is really good because we know they're not going to sell for floor. We do know they're going to be selling them as they go, whether it's 0.1 higher or 0.5 or even 4x higher, right? So 1.5, 1.1. So
yeah.
but
I mean, I guess the short, mid, and long is all kind of plays into that perpetual I guess theme, right, that they have here, and they still have almost 22 Bitcoin. Actually, you said 20, but I know that you were kind of rounding that down, but if you actually look at the numbers, it's almost 22. So they have a lot left, you know what I'm saying? And they haven't really spent much of what they've raised, and so they got a lot of ammo, man, and I think they're going to be very strategic about this.
And that is why I think last night's debacle was strategic, right? I mean, they don't call themselves strategy for any reason. I think this was a part of the plan, and I'm okay with speculating. This is just my opinion. I think this is part of the plan. This is Raktoshi's idol, bro. This is what he does. He will fund his own project to make sure that he does his own thing. Again, this is just from past data, right? I don't know, what it is, if it's true or not, right? It's just one of those things where I believe that, he funded the Node Monkeys auction, the original one, right? And then personally, I don't know, put up like bad data, said, hey, I'm gonna give it free, and then I'm not gonna be free. I don't know. It just feels like a strategic move. It feels like a strategic move. But honestly, I think it's okay. I think it's going to bring more people in. It's going to give people more time. Right now in the Chinese markets, they're going for about 0.25. Was the last sale. There is some up there for like 0.2. So they're selling pretty damn high already. So for 20 million, 17 million. Okay, that's what it is. So 20 million goes for about $2,500. So if anybody can read this, please let me know what this says. But this is the telegrams to kind of get in if you do want to participate in the pre-sale. I guess they're just going to send you these assets. So, but yeah, man, interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. Look, you're right. The dude knows how to pump collections, whatever. That's the only thing I know he's been a part of directly. The rocks, obviously, that's why his name is Raktoshi. But there was not the second place in 10,000 collection ordinals. There was not a close second place to the floor price of Node Monks. And that's why I was always, I mean, like Raktoshi, I don't know him personally, but I do know that he's kind of Dr. Jekyll, whatever Mr. Hyde whatever that is called. He has those two kind of personalities from what I hear. But the one thing that's consistent is that he knows how to pump things. And so I expect this to thrive. And I've always liked Node Monks for some reason, not because of him, just kind of, I know Big God was a little bit a part of something. They said there was rumors about this, but I had the said Node shirt that we had on our store, and we held Node Monks for a good amount. And we were battling internally if we were going to get in. And like you said earlier, we reminisced about it and said, we actually told our community, hey, look, we know some of you guys, we've gone back and forth here, but we're making a business decision here. And if you guys aren't on board with that, we totally understand. And that business decision ended up being one of the best plays of 2024 for us.
Yeah, 100%. Buying Node Monkeys for 0.00, what was it, 0.02? Is it? Yeah, 0.02.
Yeah, it's like 4 grand was the
about
floor.
0.7. Yeah. So crazy times. But yeah, I think the strategies are the biggest play right now. If you are interested, you can get in the pizza strategy right now. If you go to ninjastrategy.fun, that is ninjastrategy.fun, and you guys can participate. All you gotta do is copy this Bitcoin address here and send some Bitcoin there. You do want to sign in first. As you can see, I signed in with my X account so they can kind of see what's going on. And you can kind of go over to the mempool, and you can see that they've already raised about $100,000. Got 51,000 in the mempool. It's not going as fast as I originally thought, though.
Yeah, 100,000. I think that's pretty quick. It's 15 minutes. Yeah, with some of these other pre-sales, you feel like they could be at like mid 6 figures already. But with that being said, we don't know what's in the next block, right? So then that next block, how much is in the one that's coming
51,000.
So that's where you get the 100K from.
Well, no, it's 100, 112, and then there's 51.
Okay, so we're at like 150, around 160, 163. Yeah. So I mean, I think they're gonna do fine. They, Trevor's behind it. I think we said, there's other people that have those connections to entities that have big pockets, deep pockets, and those type of entities are the ones that try to play the most bullish quarters, right? And everybody's expecting Q4 to be really bullish, right? So ideally, best case scenario, in my opinion, is that this makes Pizza Ninjas fly up. We get to like maybe like a 25,000 floor for Pizza Ninjas, which would be really good for if you go back to their history. And then, getting something like $40-50 million market cap on the token side. That's obviously not best case scenario, but I think that's a fair case scenario, right? And like an exciting one, I should say. But we don't know how these things are going to play out because we haven't seen one that's raised money and actually had the token live trading, because unfortunately we didn't get that opportunity with Node Strategy last night. But my thing here is if Ninja Strategy is ready early tomorrow morning, do they go live on Radfi or do they wait? That's the question. And I'm thinking that they might wait like a specific period of time out of respect, but after that time's kind of crossed, they'll just say, hey, look, we got to go live at this point. We don't want our guys waiting too much.
Could you imagine if Pizza Ninja messed up with Rune 14? Like, they just go create another one, right? Like, but so they got to make sure that is right.
Yeah, and crazy though, Trevor held this Rune 14 in his back pocket for this long, and I don't know if this has been like a planned thing for like 6 months, a year, but like obviously, the Punk strategy launched early September, but as I mentioned, there was some post that I saw from Rock Touch saying, hey, there needs to be a perpetual kind of mechanism for ordinals. And this was like, I want to say like 2-3 months ago. So I think there was whisperings about this kind of thing happening, but I'm pretty sure that this wasn't in their mind when they etched this at number 14, but he held on to it until then. So pretty cool. This could be a really solid rune, man.
Yeah, he always wanted to be like, dog, I think, right? Like one of the first memes, one of the biggest memes out there. But having already the NFT project, it was probably hard for him to kind of sell it to his community as a pre-sale, right, for no reason. But this actually benefits the ninjas. One, let's look at the tokenomics, right? So here's the tokenomics of Pizza Ninjas. The pre-sale, obviously 65% will go to the pre-sale. Liquidity, 20% of the tokens will go to the liquidity pool with the pre-sale money. And then you're seeing the community incentives here. So they're going to be doing stuff with the token for, I don't know, I don't know what, but they're gonna be doing some stuff over there. Maybe giveaways at like conferences and stuff like that. So Pizza Ninja's airdrop will be 5%. If you do own a Pizza Ninja at the time of snapshot, don't know when that is or was. But you get you'll have the 5%. So that's split between 15, probably like 800 or 900 holders. And then the treasury is 5%. Don't know what they're going to do with treasury, but there is no team allocation. That's one thing Trevor was saying. But yeah, how do you feel about the tokenomics here? Designed to spread through partnerships, not insiders.
Yeah, so I think the tokenomics are pretty solid. My question is, is the Pizza Ninjas going to be, is this token, because there's not, strategy is not in the name of this rune, by the way, because it was etched number 14. I actually kind of like that. And it's the history behind it, the lore behind it. And what do people like whenever you're going into a new bullish quarter or phase? They like new things, right? So Pizza Ninjas actually has a big opportunity, in my opinion. They already have probably established some sort of relationship with the Kraken and stuff like that, because Trevor tight with Leonidas, all that stuff, right? They could probably get that, listing, no problem. But obviously they're gonna have to show market cap and some volume here. But I think it's a big opportunity for the Pizza Ninjas brand. And one thing about them, by the way, is they do community very well. At all of the conferences, I've seen people just really, get together for each conference, and then, Trevor and his entity, they always throw parties at almost every. And it's a Pizza Ninja community party, but he invites everybody in Ordinals. And so he's really good about that, right? Creating that community. So I think Ninjas have a shot at really making a splash in not only the Ordinals sector, but also the runes, if, this ends up playing out well. So.
Well, you don't want this on an exchange, because then you don't get the 10% tax. Getting this on an exchange is the worst case scenario for something that's supposed to be doing this, right? So that's why you put it on Radfi, because you can't withdraw to L1, right? It's got, you have to, it'll just be in the trading wallets on the multi-sig. So that'll stop people from putting it on DotSwap and, creating a liquidity pool there, because again, that goes against the 10% tax. So you don't want that. That's why, when Punk Strategy and stuff got listed on MEXC, everyone's like, no, MEXC, don't list this. This is stupid. Don't list that. And people were creating their own pools on different places, right? They're going off the original pool, and you're able to buy it pretty much backdoor deals on other swaps and stuff. So that's something you don't want, right? Unless they do want that. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well,
that ruins the flywheel effect.
I know that the 10% tax has been discussed for Radfi, but I'm not seeing anything on the Pizza Ninja side of things in terms of they are charging the tax. So that's something. So each transaction incurs a 10% fee. So I am reading that right now. So that is something. So buys and sells. So in and out, we kind of, so they are following that Punk Strategy mechanism. Yeah. So then in that case, I think they would probably have to wait a bit, right, until there's some sort of idea or something to where the centralized exchanges could actually list, because at the end of the day, Kraken would probably have interest in them, but if it breaks the mechanism, then I'm sure they're going to probably stay away from that.
Yeah, you can't list tax tokens on exchanges. It doesn't work. The exchanges won't. There's no way.
It's happened it's happened with Flocky, but it's also kept Flocky away from the big ones.
Yeah, it's not on any exchanges from my knowledge.
Flocky?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it.
Yeah,
it's a tax token.
But they got on some of them right off the bat just because they were doing so much volume, like the MEXCs and stuff like that. Not the big ones that have like Coinbase and stuff like that. But I don't. Yeah, like right now their largest one is they're actually on Binance, so they eventually got to Binance.
Are they?
Yeah, they might have migrated to a new contract too, to take off that tax, because I know that was probably a hindrance at one point. But yeah, they're on Coinbase too. Shoot, I did not realize that. So they had to have probably migrated to a new contract.
Yeah, 100%. But if you are interested in this, you guys, like I said, Ninja Strategy, have fun. And so we do know that Radfi is seeing some push up here because of this. You are seeing, if you go to explore, uh-oh. What's going on, Radfi? Okay, go to explore. Baby Bottle is at 14.4 million. This is one of the tokens that you don't see on your timeline. You don't see like you Crypto Berg for Odin. I still have never seen one post, one Berg hashtag Berg on my timeline and sitting at like $400 million. This one either $14 million for a bottle. What do you think about Baby Bottle right now? When liquidity is kind of pouring in, do you think Baby Bottle does good? The Baby Bottle rune, that is.
Yeah, I think it's going to do good. I think it's going to be crazy because these are the Chinese tokens, the Chinese community tokens. They don't push this through to the Western communities, and honestly, they don't want it to be popular here because they feel like, and they have every right to feel this way, but they feel like the Western communities, have weak hands and are jeets basically, and so they like to keep it internal, and they do well. I mean, out of all the tokens in the Bitcoin ecosystem, other than Dog, because Dog has had some solid market caps at different points, like the most thriving ones have been Chinese community tokens. You look like you mentioned on Odin. I mean, $500 million for Crypto Burger, which is a Bitcoin rune. They etched it on Bitcoin, and it trades on Bob's platform, Odin.fund, and it's $500 million. It's actually the largest rune technically in terms of market cap, but they don't push it to like American KOLs because they feel like they will be the ones that will bring the poison in, and I don't blame them for that because you just see it over and over. You see it with Solana, and you're seeing BNB right now actually thrive, hitting 3 $100 million tokens in the last couple days. Solana hasn't had a $100 million token from launch to 100 million in months, right? And so I mean, you got to hand it to the Chinese. They know how to get each other to hold, and people will say, well, then they're going to eventually dump on each other. Yeah, but like if you don't get to a certain level of success, then that success cannot be sustained. You know what I mean? So
yeah, 100%. And they just know how to hold. That's the difference between, I think BNB and Solana. We're going to get into that later, but yeah, I mean, they just know how to hold over there, and I don't know if it's just strong KOLs or what, but 100% there. But that was fun to talk about. Let's kind of get into some other stuff. Make sure I got everything. We talked about everything. Yep, we talked about everything. All right, cool. This is really interesting. The Intercontinental Exchange, or ICE, parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, is in advanced talks to invest $2 billion in the prediction market's Polymarket. In this deal, that the value of the company between $8 and $10 billion. What do you think about the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange? Actually, I mean, this is a lot of money for potentially 20% of the company, 25% of the company here.
it reminds me of Google and Facebook when there were large investors just throwing tons of money at them, saying, "Hey, look, we understand that you guys have something really special here, and maybe you don't have a super strong business model," which I think they'd kind of do out the gate because it's the fees that they incur right off of each trade. But they trust that this business model and their position in the digital asset markets are really strong for now and the future. And so that's what I get from this. And we'll probably see a couple selected winners like Polymarket that get these kind of investments thrown at them, because Polymarket, they get $2 billion, and for them, obviously, like the CEO and the C-suite people that are selected for that, they're kind of living in this, I imagine, grinding it out, but like fun kind of tech environment type of workplace. Maybe they only have 8 people, because like we talk about the team sizes in our space, and they're not really big, but $2 billion, that makes them feel like, okay, we don't have to worry about runway at all, like at all. Like, we gives ourselves $500,000, $1 million salary a year, whatever they give themselves, right? And we can focus with our team, are the best creative thinkers on our team, to continually grow this company. And that's, I think, every startup founder's dream, is to be able to be in a position like the founder of Polymarket.
Yeah, I mean, dude, 100%. Like, and the thing is with this now is, like, you're right. They don't need to worry about revenue. they can Amazon this thing. They can 99 Amazon this thing where you just keep putting your money. You be a company that just loses money year after year after year, but building internally, building new thing. I mean, this could start with the predictions market, but actually be something so much bigger in the future, to where, you know, they are the #1 place to sports bet. They are the #1 place to gamble potentially, right? I mean, it's right up their alley. So why not, right? So it's one of those things, and maybe they do something in the sense of, you know, hey, we don't care who wins. Like we're holding tournaments and stuff like that. We don't care who wins, but we will be the table, right? So they have a lot of big opportunity here, and I think this is, you know, we're headed into, you know, with all these sports, you know, DraftKings and stuff, record money this year already for the NFL season. Everyone's gambling. Everyone's gambling right now. And this is, you know, perfect for someone like the New York Stock Exchange, which, you know, this is pretty big. Yeah, this is good for them. We'll see what happens with this. You do have other ones now that we're kind of seeing. What's the other one called? Kalshi.
Yep.
Again, right there, sitting there. Who goes in with them now, right? Is it? I know Robinhood already kind of did a deal with them, but is there, you know, a big investment coming for them? So it's one of those things where, and I think X did a deal with them as well. So big investors coming in. This is big. It's huge.
Yeah, and you know the data too of that they're getting is so valuable, because people are putting money behind each decision that they're making, right? The people that are betting on here, and so, but it reminds me a little bit of Yahoo and Google, and I know that those were, at the time, search engine was kind of being like, oh wow, this is going to be huge, and predictions market is starting to get more energy in that, but you got Kalshi and you have Polymarket, when all we heard was Polymarket really during the election through now. But now, like, Kalshi is kind of like being like that Google, where it's like catching up, and everybody's like, wow, actually Kalshi does more volume. You know what I mean? And I'm seeing Kalshi commercials on TikTok now. And so it's going to be a battle between those two. But I think they're both will be fine, the founders of those two companies, right? Because the direction that industry is heading in, they're going to be set for life.
When do you think that they go public? When do you think Polymarket goes public? Because obviously, you know, that's kind of what you're saying already here, right? Like, do you see it being next year? Do you see it in a couple years, or is it maybe too early for them?
Probably pretty quickly. I imagine in the next year or so. If going public is still going to be that, you know, as attractive as it was before, which I do think it still is, and I mean, because the dynamics of the traditional markets changing a little bit with what we have over here, and we're kind of just merging in this weird methodical way, but it's happening because it needs to happen. And so, but to answer your question, I do think that they do go public probably sooner than we initially thought.
Yeah, I agree. No, 100%. And then this could 10x. I mean, value to 8, you know, between 8 and 10 billion. I mean, you could see this at 80 billion, right? This is potentially, if it does enough traction. I mean, speculation. So, all right, the next thing's pretty cool. The S&P launches a new crypto index consisting of 15 cryptocurrencies and 35 crypto-related stocks. They're calling it, they're basically the S&P Digital Markets 50. So we do have the S&P 500, we have, you know, the NASDAQ. Now we're going to have the S&P Digital Market 50, a new index created by the S&P Dow Jones indices. So it's built by S&P Dow Jones, same people behind S&P 500, tracks 15 cryptocurrencies. We do not know which ones yet, and 35 crypto-aligned companies or stocks, rebalanced quarterly, and tokenized versions coming via Denari D share. So they will be actually tokenized as well. Pretty massive for crypto. I don't understand how we're down on this news. Crypto's getting its own index.
Yeah, I don't think it's the news that's necessarily bringing us down. I think it's a little bit of a correction of what we've gone through probably the past 2 days, right? So we, you know, Bitcoin just kind of tagged that 126, and we're just kind of, but I'm okay because we got the rest of the week, right? So for this it's bullish, because this is the type of product that the safer investor wants to see, right? And they're actually not even them, they're brokers, they're brokerages, right? Or they're whoever their consultants are. They want this for their client that is 75 years old, or, you know, and you know, it's just old money and likes safer things and that type of stuff. So I think this is going to open it up for more exposure to that group. but also kind of the mid group too that has done well because smart younger people started putting away into the S&P 500 10 15 years ago. They're in really good right now, so they can start doing this as well and have their exposure to digital assets without feeling too risky.
Yeah, like an employer might add this instead of adding Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? They add this, and that way they get the exposure at the same time. Let's talk about, since it's not out yet, we don't know which 15 are going to get in. Obviously, Bitcoin, right? Ethereum, BNB, XRP, Solana, Dogecoin. Do you see something like Tron being put in there?
I can see them getting snubbed, actually. Just because a little bit of like the history, they'll probably look at that. Maybe snubbed early on, but if Justin Sun can continually prove that, like they're gonna be like, we had Jeff on yesterday. He talked about his strategy with stable coins and how it was very not fun whenever he started that. So I got to give him credit for that because he went into something, but he just seems kind of like a little risky to be a part of. But if he continually proves over and over, maybe they can sneak in there. But I would say they get snubbed first.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think that this is one of the first snubs that we see by market cap kind of not get pushed in there. I do think Cardano, Hyperliquid, Chainlink, Sui, Avalanche, and then what about Bitcoin Cash? Do you think they're going to throw Bitcoin Cash in there? No. Okay.
And they're going to look. They're going to probably just look at the consistency too over time.
Yeah.
And if you look at consistency in the coins, especially outside of the US, right? Because you have to remember that I think that they're going to probably try to lean a little bit more into the US ones. But like BNB has been consistent. Like that is one of the things that it has been over time, is very consistent, and so they're going to look for that type of characteristic overall too. And so Cardano, I think, has a good shot of getting in, but then, there's been some inconsistencies with it a little bit. But yeah,
you gotta throw Cardano in there. Like
I think so. They're also, domestic, right? They're US company, or chain, native chain. So
yeah, 100%. And then potentially Litecoin. I don't see Shiba Inu in there or ton. Maybe Kronos and Polkadot.
I mean, the relationship with Kronos and the way that they've always tried to prepare, even though there wasn't clear regulations in the US, that's probably going to be good for their report card whenever they look it over. They've advertised in the US, and so I don't think that they've had any like history of huge red flags for them.
Yeah, 100%. It's cool to speculate, though. I think once we do find out which 15 are going to get picked, you might see some rocket ships being taken off here. That could be something that pushes it up. I do think that we should get some ETFs here soon, right? I mean, I guess might be waiting for the government to kind of get back. Nobody was thinking about that, right? Like, oh yeah, we're gonna get ETFs in October. Oh wait, the government shut down. Is the SEC shut down though? I don't know if they're one of the entities that are. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are right now. But
all right. Let's jump into, got a lot of other stuff, but we'll do the fear and greed and stuff now, kind of knock all that stuff out. So let's jump right into the crypto fear and greed here. So wow, impressed, you agreed. All right, so last week we're at 43. Yesterday we're at 59. We're back in the 60s, the low 60s, but we're back in the 60s.
62.
Boom, got it on the noggin. Man, we gotta find a better. I know I say so often, but
whenever I do it today, whenever I do it, I try to do like, because it's gonna be like too easy if you like. I'll try to do like a sports player jersey number or something like that, just to kind of correlate it. But yeah, I mean, it is dumping hard right now. So that is, it's pretty aggressive too for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So
well, let's get right into that. All right, let's get into the Bitcoin price action brought to you guys by Artura.finance. Artura, we're going to be doing a show with them in about 2.5 hours. So 2 p.m. Eastern time. You guys definitely want to come back to the show. We'll be on this channel and their X and RX. So definitely check that out. Ooh, wow. Big red candle. I didn't mean to scream, but I went to Artura.finance and it doesn't look great. Oh my God. Yeah, that's a broken trend for sure. But make sure you guys go to Artura.finance. You guys can join their competition right now. It's coming to an end soon, about 2 weeks here. You want to get in the top 5, potentially going to win a few $1,000s and some ARA tokens. So definitely want to be a part of that if you're interested in that. And on top of that, they do have vaults, and you can just make some trades. Potentially down the line, you could be doing some, who knows, with some airdrops and stuff like that. But definitely check out Artura. And by using Artura on Botonics, you're potentially going to get the largest Bitcoin airdrop ever from the Botonics team. So really, we're looking forward to that. Botonics has calmed down their marketing a little bit. It seems like they're going into build mode right now. So, but definitely want to be using that chain as soon as possible to be a part of that huge airdrop. So definitely check that out and check out Artura.finance.
Absolutely. Yeah, make sure you join the Trader's Edge. It's going to be a fun one today. But before we get into some Bitcoin price action, which is not pretty, help us out on the YouTube side. Smash that like, sub to the channel if you're not subbed, and turn your notifications on. All that great stuff. On the X side, let's share the space. Let's get people in here. And then on the abstract side as well, if you wouldn't mind sharing that link. Same thing with Twitch, Kick, and Spotify. Let's get into some price action here. For Bitcoin, and it is aggressive on the hour chart, which is going to definitely look more aggressive. But let's take a look. As you can see, man, this is 3-hour candles in a row, just dumping really hard. The MACD has opened back up to the downside. The fast line looks like it wants to head down. So this looks like a bleed out, folks. So I would definitely be paying very close attention to what happens here. Now, you got to remember, if we just kind of zoom out here and bring it back to this day, which was last Tuesday, we were sitting at 112, right? So that was we topped out here at what, 126,349. Okay, so 112 to 126 is about $14,000, right? So that's, in my opinion, if there's no other headline, I don't see anything. I actually did a search just now, see if there's anything that is creating this dump from the headlines, and I don't see anything specifically. So for me, I feel like this is definitely some profit taking that's happening. Again, we went up 14,000 in 1 week. So I believe that's what's happening here. Now, we got to really pay attention to see if this is something that is just a correction, kind of a normal correction after going up 14,000, or do we have a continuation of this, right? Because as of right now, the past 3 hours, it has not let up, as you can see here, right? And then the stochastics too, just re-entering the oversold territory on the fast line. So for me, I would like to see this settle down in some area down here for the next 2-3 hours, see if this kind of breaks back down, but watch it carefully is what I'm doing. There could be an opportunity, but I'm not jumping into that really quick because I want to see this cool off. And right now it's still hot, in my opinion. You have this wick, but it's still pretty hot here, right? And I don't really need to go into the support and resistance because you can see, like, the resistance is just crushing all the support. Like even in these low volume areas over here, I mean, yeah, just rebalance right there. But low volume pushes down here, big sell. We lose control. In this area, support did kick back up, but above this resistance again, right? So for me, I need to have this kind of calm down, settle down. Let's kind of recalibrate here and see when that recalibration happens, because as of right now, it hasn't. So that is what I am looking at right now to see where Bitcoin kind of finds its footing here. If we get down below 120, that's a different concern, in my opinion. That would be a very fast turnaround from yesterday, right? But let's kind of keep watching that, right? So that is the hour chart. And then the 4-hour chart, obviously, with the aggressive sell down here, has broken back open on the downside. And I have seen several situations like this before, to where it does break back down, and then we see that, at least for a good portion of that day, kind of continue that downtrend. It would be great if we did see some sideways, though. Kind of, like I said, that's that recalibration I'm looking for. Let's kind of let it cool down a little bit, and then we pay attention to see if it breaks down again, and then have a separate trend to the downside apart from this right here, because this is not even like really a downtrend. It's just straight down. I mean, yeah, you had to start to a downtrend, but this has been just down only here. So Bitcoin not looking too great today, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. I am going to be paying attention to it, very close attention to it. But I still am in my opinion, believe that we're in this October environment right now. We're just having a correction. The daily chart, this one's the important one, right? As you see right here, it has started to break down a little bit, but this doesn't mean that we are, going to go into a downtrend necessarily, right? The candle for today definitely looks like it's going to probably end in red, but paying attention to how strong this candle ends today, and then what does tomorrow look like? Do we follow this up with another red candle? Because then we're most likely, you get about 3 days. Let's say we finish the week that way, then it looks like it wants to close out of this buy pressure. But I think this is a little trickery happening to us. That's just my personal opinion, not financial advice. So the daily chart is the most important one to pay attention to for the next, I would say, forecast for the next week or so, but it's going to be the next 2 days. So tomorrow, we have Wednesday, Thursday, leading into the weekend. How does the daily chart look? And that's going to give us some outlook for how we look like for this weekend and possibly the start of next week. Ethereum looks horrible as well. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but it is kind of, just following Bitcoin today, right? So everything else is going to be very similar to what I just talked about Bitcoin, starting on the 4 hour. You can see it's starting that sell pressure again here, right? Again, the daily, something to make sure you keep your eye on, as it's going to be really the indicator that lets me know how we finish this week and what that energy looks like to start next week. All right, so that's Bitcoin, Ethereum. These are all of a sudden turned red. I don't know how this just flipped on its head just now. It's so crazy. Like, this morning was not that bad. But yeah, you can see majority of everything is red here. You're looking at it like a 95 to 5% red to green. Pump is actually green right now, up 1.2%. BNB staying strong at 1271, man. I mean, this token is absolutely just strong. It's like iron, I mean, it continually just cruises up, right? It is up 4% there. You got this DEX token that's up 10.7%. Pancake Swap is up 8.3. XPL look like it's done selling down and is actually showing a little bit of a bounce back here. Sonic up 2.5%. Everything else looks like it's on average around 3 to 5% pullback, right? So if these numbers continually grow, though, that's something to pay attention to. But I'm seeing on average 3 to 5% with a pullback here. Probably very similar thing in the top 200. Some anomaly sticking out. This track token, not track for Bitcoin, but track.
Oregon Trail. Yeah,
there you go. Oregon Trail. They made a token. That's awesome.
They're a big DeFi project. They've been.
I know.
Been around for a long time.
I know. I mean, obviously not the game that
I forgot about the game.
Yeah. 28.9% pulling up. APEPE up 11%. But everything else on the top 200, you are seeing a little bit higher of a pullback, which makes sense because you enter a little bit more risky environment. It's more 5 to 7% on average pullback there. But yeah, going back to kind of where we are in this cycle in this year. I wouldn't worry too much about this just yet. I would be paying attention to it, of course, but let's see how today and tomorrow play out, the rest of today and tomorrow, and then I will get a more clear picture of what this means. Because as of right now, I'm looking at a pretty healthy correction, and that's about it.
Yeah, 100%. It's just very healthy. Like I was saying in the beginning of the show, like it's not healthy to just go straight up. Right, we need a pullback, and when you go to 26, pulling back to 21, let's just say the bottom is in for the day. I mean, that is great, right? That is looking amazing. We can continue up the rest of the week. It's only Tuesday. We still have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday left in this week. We can really run on Thursday, given the buy the dippers coming in. And it does look like the buy the dippers are coming in, right? Is that kind of what you said? Like we are kind of heading back up a little bit.
No, not on Bitcoin or Ethereum. No.
Okay. Yeah,
no,
not yet.
We're not seeing the correction really, the kind of rise back up yet. So that's we're actually looking for a cool down right now on the sell pressure. So that's something that we're looking for. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But let's jump into roll call here. We take the first comment of the day and we put it on a spreadsheet and we track it throughout the year. Shout out to Tim Baker with his 15th win of the year. Congratulations, you, my friend. You made it in again, he says, again, but shout out to Tim Baker. He says, Shiz, not on fire. Did you buy some yet? Yeah, I mean, it's on fire until the miners is dump, right? They have over $1 million worth of tokens. Be very careful with that, guys. Like, I know people are making fun of me because I missed it, but miners are vicious people. They're vicious people, and they do not care who they hurt. So be very careful. Hydro Sapien is here. Webdro again. ASAP Benji is here. Lackey Lukey, my guy. Bitcoin is Truth is here. Abstract. Chips and Dip, my guy. Spindrift, what's up, man? Vader Time says it's time. Soshi Nakamoto, staring at the charts, man, 100%. What do you guys think of our new song? You guys like the new song? Let us know. Staring at charts until I retire. One Plus Ad is here. Patty Poo, the Bitcoin machine himself. Shout out to you, my friend. Chief Axel, GM, and then we have Dickie Oversheet. Your first time making the show, but you're just coming here to tell us about your Binance Yellow Robot is the future. I don't know.
New Binance token. Look, I mean, Binance ecosystem has really been kicking off well for October. So let's see if it continues.
Yeah, for sure. Myself is here. He said classic Ponzi-nomics. E-Rock. Runes are a failure, and you're rocking a puppet. What about a rune that is puppet strategy, though? Is that a failure? That's the question. Erdrick is here, my guys. Hear me out. Mr. Yen, Ordinal flywheel. What? How Ordinal? So Mr. Yen is a collection or no?
No, not that I know of. But
yeah, I don't.
Man, Mr. Yen was definitely a good part of the good times of runes. I hope that similar time comes back.
I just remember it being negative. I remember it like
what
it would go to like 20 million and then went down to like 200K.
What, Mr. Yen?
Yeah.
No, I mean the vibes from the account.
Oh,
I mean it was fun, you know, like to see that kind of whoever was behind that social account had skill set, but like I guess he just stopped.
Well, I mean,
I get it.
Yeah. Merlin's Lucky is here. Cash Cats is here with the coffee and the donuts and the dog go to the moon. Shout out to Cash Cats, my guy. Mur is here, GM to all. And then Dickie says, Binance Yellow Robot Bina will launch on Binance this weekend? Question mark.
Okay.
You probably know more than I do. Zapressi is here, and then he says, you doing the pizza token presale? Yes. So I threw about $500 in. I'm not sure if you want to tell your allocation, but I just threw a very small amount in.
Yeah, I did around the same. But yeah, I mean, look, it's risky. But there's a team behind it, and if you're familiar with the ecosystem, you know these guys. Like, you know, you got Trevor. If you go to the website, ninjastrategy.fun, you can see all the information there. You know, Serge is in there, Albert, Jan from Xverse, and Tim, which is I believe he's kind of a part of the B Life as well, maybe, or something. So they have some strong people that have good network connections and funding. So we'll see.
Dude, it almost stopped, bro. So about 205,000 and about $5,000 in the mempool. Just worry you at all?
Not really, because I know that like you know it's rune number 14. They're gonna make it work however they can, right? Like it doesn't mean that they're going to mint out right away. But the Dutch auction also, I don't remember like really keeping. We're more focused on this probably because we're in this, and also it's like you mentioned, people that felt like they missed the Node Monk Dutch auction. They're like, you know, should I get in this? Am I going to miss out on this as well? So I think there's more focus on the progress of this. But the Dutch auction actually took some time too. It didn't mint out right away, or it didn't finish right away. Yeah,
gotcha. And this has it has a ton of blocks left. What's that? 143. So what's that? That's like a whole day. That's like tomorrow morning. So yeah, that's plenty of time on that. So 100% there. But yeah, and that'll wrap up your roll call for today. Appreciate everybody who makes roll call each and every day. You guys are absolutely awesome. But let's jump into some other topics here. I have a lot still. So we'll start with let's go right into BNB, right? So BNB hits a new all-time high yesterday above 1,300. We know it got higher than that. It actually got up to about 1340, 1350. So that was pretty cool. BNB Chain has been one of the top performers this Bitcoin, I mean, I want to say this year, right? I mean, it's just been up only. I mean, I remember this thing at $200 in 2022 around the FTX crash.
Yeah, when it started picking up this year too, you know, maybe like in June, July, I was seeing numbers like $850, $900, and they were saying it's hitting all-time highs, right? And so now you're seeing it at 1,300 almost, right? It wicked up all the way there. So, my expectations for this token is really strong for this quarter, right? Look, I mean, CZ is I'm sure that he has some like a good amount of pride. He's been in the space for a while, and so he wants to make a statement. He went to jail for however long for whatever happened with that, and now he's back, and he feels like he can kind of let loose a little bit more with this new administration and stuff. So don't be shocked if you see some pretty ridiculous numbers with this token.
Yeah, 100%. And then we're hearing people on the timeline talk about too how like everyone left Solana for BNB, and you're kind of seeing that in the chain by fees, right? So BNB is actually taken Hyperliquid. Obviously, we knew that Aster is a big part of that, right? Because they were running on the BNB chain, but Hyperliquid is right there with fees. But I mean, look at BNB to Solana right now. I mean, you're seeing less than $1 million in fees on Solana, but then almost 1.6, 1.7 for BNB. This is crazy to me. The Hyperliquid and BNB basically are like way ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, and it's $1,300 right now. The total circulating supply for BNB is 140 million. You compare that to Ethereum, because I know we had that little conversation pre-show.
Yeah.
Ethereum is at like 4,500. Yes, pretty substantially bigger in terms of price point, but it has, okay, so the total supply is a little bit bigger than I thought for Ethereum. It's 120 million. I thought it was more like 70 or something like that. So, okay. So, but the aggressive push up right now with BNB, I think it's going to be tough to catch it this cycle, but maybe we could see something. But as of right now, that circulating supply that I saw with Ethereum is a lot closer to BNB's than I thought it was. So I would say Ethereum still has a pretty substantial lead on them.
Well, I'm just talking about market cap, right? So BNB is 176 billion. Ethereum is 544. So in order for BNB to surpass Ethereum, you would need about 3x against Ethereum, right? So if everything's running, let's just say Ethereum does a 2x. Can BNB do a 10x from here? Can BNB, like, you know what I mean, potentially? Do you see it passing? Do you see it 3xing Ethereum? While it potentially need a 5x and Ethereum to 2x potentially to pass it.
I mean, I think it's possible, right? Because of who's really supporting BNB. You have CZ supporting it along with Binance. Obviously, Binance is supporting it. And so it's definitely possible. Will the big players involved with Ethereum allow that to happen, or will they try to feed into the market cap to make it more formidable and stay in that second spot? Possibly. Tom Lee's obviously put a lot of his faith and his reputation into Ethereum. And he's traveling, he's speaking about it like in different countries. He was at Token 2049, and so I think there's going to be there's a lot of pride wars that I think could happen. You got Saylor in that group for Bitcoin. That's going to be really tough to chase, right? But then you got Tom Lee now, and was it Joe Lubin and the Sharp Link guys, and so now, and then you go against CZ and kind of his group of people backing BNB. So those three groups are very, very strong. Obviously, Bitcoin is the strongest one, but then you got some pretty good, back and forth, I think, between Ethereum and BNB.
Yeah, 100%. Like Ethereum would need a 5x against Bitcoin to surpass it, and BNB needs about a 3.5x to pass Ethereum. Solana, could Solana right now be like the most, beaten down, like in the sense of not running with the big boys, right? Not running with the BNB and Ethereum. Ethereum's up, in the last couple months. It's up, I want to say about almost 100% since like March and April. While Solana really been, 190, 180, and then back up to 220. Does Solana have room to run here against BNB?
I think Solana is getting a little humbled right now, and I think that they need to go through this, and I think they probably need to go through a little bit more humbling, even more than where they are right now, which is not even that much, to be honest. It's just they've lost attention share for just what, like a month, 2 weeks to a month. They need to think about who makes Solana successful, and it's not all the coin deployers. It's not all the protocol builders. Sure, yeah, I give more credit to the protocol builders than the coin deployers, but the users. If you have no users, then there's not going to be any builders. You know what I mean? If you have no users, it's definitely not going to be any coin deployers, right? So they looked at users last. I truly feel like Solana looked at users last in terms of the especially the meme coin area, right? They care about them least. Whenever they try to put some sort of reward mechanism, it's never for the end user. That gets wrecked the most, right?
Yeah.
They get wrecked the most. And so I think they could possibly go into another humbling period because they already went through one. But I think it was for a different reason. The first one, it was kind of like, I felt like a lot of the outside people were like, well, it wasn't really Solana Foundation's fault. And it was more FTX having that association with Solana so closely. But now, this one is on the builders. Not all of them. There's some great builders in Solana, but the ones that were pulling in the most fees, and we know who I'm talking about. So the launchpad, meme launchpads, like those group of people, they really need to take this time, in my opinion, to say what can sustain users in our space rather than what can wreck them more. And I don't think they think that way. They think more of like what can bring us the most fees. But if you have no users, then fees eventually go away too.
Yeah, 100%. And like, Solana basically had everything every chain wanted. They had the people. And I think they did ruin it a little bit by getting a little greedy and not doing givebacks, because any other chain that you're on, I mean, the givebacks were huge, right? Avalanche always doing kind of like airdrops of different projects and stuff like that. Solana, you didn't really see that. Same thing with Cardano. I feel like they love their users. They're always caring about their users and stuff like that. Always doing like different stuff. But again,
Bitcoin
Solana
too.
didn't really do that.
Bitcoin gave their users a lot back.
Well,
yeah, look at it. The runestones. That
not
was
in the last
huge.
year and a half, though. It's been a long time since there's been anything for the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, because the liquidity left. But whenever there was, they gave back a ton to their users and communities. Like
if you want to go far back, there's a lot for Solana then too. I'm just talking about the last year, right? So over the last year, when Pump Fund came online, well, Solana had Radium airdrop. You had the Orca airdrop. There was a lot in 2023. Jupiter monster airdrop. I mean, everyone got paid handsomely. But I'm just talking about in the last year or so, right? When Pump Fund launched. There hasn't really been anything.
But you got to give back whenever you have the money, like that. You know what I mean? So like whenever like the liquidity is there, you want to treat your user base good instead of saying, well, money is going to always come because I have this money tree, which it seems that way for like Pump Fund and stuff like that. But that's why I prefer the Bitcoin community in terms of ethos more than almost any chain, because of the Runestone airdrop, because of the pizza claim from Unisat, because of Magic Eden giving most to the Bitcoin community, because the Bitcoin community drove up their relevance, and stuff like that. So I just feel like that kind of energy should have happened for Solana whenever they were thriving. You know what I mean?
I mean, in the early days, though, if you were early to Solana, you made out like a bandit. If you got in right around the FTX collapse, I mean, there was just massive amount of returns. I mean, probably bigger than 5x the size of Bitcoin, right? Because a lot of those dApps and stuff really gave back. I mean, but yeah, I get your point, but you have to look, if you're going to look back at Bitcoin's history, you got to look back at Solana's as well. But I'm just kind of going over the last year, right? So it's one of those things where there hasn't been any givebacks to the Solana ecosystem, and everyone will kill for the amount of users that Solana has. But yeah.
They almost feel like they don't have to do it. You know what I mean? They feel
didn't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but they did, because now they're losing users to BNB, because BNB, yes, it could be a liquidity pull away, but also there's a lot of disgruntled people about like how, and it's not just Pump Fund. It was like the Believe Launchpad. It was like all these other launch pads that were kind of like, we're just competing to get more fees. Well, eventually I think they started to get the message, but it was a little bit too late. And I do think users will return there, especially if they have a really good flywheel for, rewarding the users in some way.
There is a huge rumor going around though that Pump Fund's going to be doing their airdrop this week. So people don't. The 9th was what a lot of people were saying. So we'll see. Could that bring people back to Solana? A monster pump airdrop.
Yeah, it could.
All right. Retail investors are becoming active again. That's one thing we're kind of seeing, but they're being active on Binance. So do you think that's, do you think a lot of the Western people are actually joining the fun here, or that the West has been having? Because the East has been having. So you're seeing a lot of these tokens really do really well. You brought this to my attention this morning that, you are seeing massive meme coins having huge launches, a lot of them being like Chinese lettering and stuff like that. How do you feel about that, and do you think it's a lot? Do you think the Western people are joining this fund?
I think some of them are. Honestly, probably the ones that always get ahead of kind of metas and stuff like that, and they might have like some people that are in these Chinese groups, but majority probably not. And I think that this is kind of what we've seen. We've witnessed it firsthand that these Chinese groups, they have little Telegram groups that they form, and sometimes they charge to get into them. I hear and stuff, but like the whole idea is to really pump tokens together, and they have success with it, right? And look, they have the same issues too, just maybe a different scale to where people pump and dump over there as well. But it seems like they have more sustainability than we do in the West right now, right? And that's a lot of that is Solana culture, in my opinion. But it's also kind of it makes me, it's head scratching to me sometimes, because I'm just like, how could it have gotten to that point to where it was such a PvP style game in the West? You know what I mean? Like, it was just like such a PvP style game. It's almost like they're playing like professional esports to make sure their points are up, but it's actually like money, right? Obviously. I mean, that's how look, at the end of the day, if for your individual performance, maybe you should approach it that way, but it's going to be hard to get community like rallied and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Surrounding and saying, hey, this is, and liquidity has a lot to do with that. Is there liquidity events happening in Web3? Not very much. If anything, it's TradFi type products that are being boosted up, and those are for very hard blue chips that like have been around forever. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, these other, and then maybe some one-offs here and there that have just completely shown proof of being super strong, like Hyperliquid. They're new, but they've said like, look at everything that we've done, and you can't deny it. So people put big money in that, so.
Yeah, no, 100%. Do you think there's still room to run here? Do you think potentially playing with 4.meme today would potentially have some success here? I am seeing some, doing pretty well. This was 71% here, 44% here, 94% here. I don't even know what this says. But it's Captain America of Binance, I guess. I don't know there, but is this worth potentially trying today? Maybe putting some liquidity over on 4.meme, or do you think maybe it's already kind of past its waypoint?
No, I mean, it's still early in Q4. It's only October 7th, right? And so I definitely think that there's still run up time here. It could go another 3 weeks. It could finish out this month. So looking at the volume for the next couple of days heading into the weekend, very important. I think they still will play over the weekend type of situation, but that chart that you had earlier, which showed the volumes, and it's actually very impressive for Hyperliquid, by the way, because Hyperliquid's number 2 consistently, and it's all just pretty much the perp stacks, right? But then you look at BNB, but then paying attention to Solana, Tron is absolutely weird. Like, I mean, what's happening there? A bunch of stables being staked and unstaked, or like little swaps here and there. I don't know. Then you got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then Bitcoin right underneath it, right? And it's just, it's such a weird kind of ranking right now. You know what I mean? BNB, okay, I can get that one being the top right now. They're huge in terms of liquidity. Hyperliquid, that's pretty weird, but we get why. There's an answer. And then Tron is just, to me, just like, what are they doing there? But Solana, keep your eye on that. See if they lose more market share here, and then whenever it starts to pick up, see what they're doing different over there. If something's changed, you know what I mean? Because there's stuff that is there that I do have to give credit where credit's due. So there's stuff that they are trying to build. When I say they, I'm talking about the Solana builder ecosystem. Like, for example, Trader Joe has this token mill thing where they take a good portion of the fees, and then once it hits 500 Solana, that gets invested into the top volume token for the past 24 hours, and it creates a god candle. And then they reset that clock. And the only stipulation is you can't win 2 times in a row. So that gives another opportunity for the runner up, right? So stuff like that is what Solana needs to keep thinking about. Like, how can we get back that? See, that is focused on the users, in my opinion, right? So
Yeah, 100%. And like, it could be some other chain too, right? There's places that have other stuff. Like, it's weird to see Polygon so low because it has 2 of the biggest dApps in crypto with a courtyard and, you know, Polymarket. And then you're seeing, you know, Sui, where everyone, it was funny. I think it was Rasmer came out yesterday and he was like, stop. He's like, the only people on Sui are these KOLs. Like, nobody is on Sui. Stop it. I mean, you're saying that. I mean, look at this. The comparison, even with Solana being so beaten down, the comparison is crazy. Like, where is the fees if Sui's this big DeFi chain? Is that just all potential KOLs just pumping it?
yeah, I don't know what the fee structure looks, but that's fees for every dApp on there, right? Not just like
Yeah,
chain
it's the
fees,
entire
right?
chain. Yeah, this is chain. Yeah, so it's like
So
the entire chain, the entire everything.
yeah. So I mean,
It's
I
not
do
being
think,
used.
yeah, I do think Sui's one of those that's been a lot of marketing. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
been a lot of marketing. I mean, look, Dogecoin is being used more than Sui in terms of fee generation.
yeah, yeah, and that's just it's probably just bigger money, right? Like doing the on-chain, off-chain type style, which is weird to say. That is crazy to say. Now I think about it, Dogecoin. It has to be just there's no actual usage on the chain besides the Dogecoin itself, right?
Well, I mean, very minimal of the DRC and stuff like that, but there is community there.
Yeah,
It's just very low volume. But
I'd be
and
shocked if there's still
also
people building on that.
well, there's volumes though. You can actually see. I actually still have some stuff over there that I left a
Do you?
long time ago. So I just take a peek, see every once in a while. I look. I think that those proof of work chains like Dogecoin and stuff. If Bitcoin has like a solid, like, you know, it has an on-chain economy, but if it has a solid fungible token ecosystem eventually, like where it feels like DeFi, they will mimic it because they can, you know, because it's built the same way. But
Yeah.
until then, I don't think that there's going to be, you know, a lot of volume on that. But it also, one thing I think we got to consider too, like ICP, I think they don't charge fees to the user, but I think they charge fees to the subnet owners, right? Or
Yeah.
something like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I'm not.
100%.
I don't know how Sui works, if it's based off of every transactional fee for the chain as well. But, you know, protocols can charge fees, custom fees, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can charge whatever you want as a protocol, you know, as a dApp creator, right? So it's one of those things. All right, jump to the next thing here. Bitcoin yesterday had an all-time high, but Google is about 50%. The search results are about 50% lower than they were in 2021, which to me is super, super bullish, right? Because look at where we were in you know, October 20. This is when Bitcoin went hit like 13,000 in December. It was absolutely insane. Everyone was kind of pushing it, right? And you know, obviously we kind of topped in about March and again in August. But now we're not seeing any. Does everyone just understand what Bitcoin is at this point? And it's just like maybe they're using ChatGPT instead. And maybe is that an alternative? People have ChatGPT, like that's kind of why we're not seeing this. Is somebody worried about, or do you think that, you know, maybe we're just in the beginning stages? Maybe we're just here.
I don't think ChatGPT is necessarily taken away from the searches, not that much, because I think most of the searches are like, what's Bitcoin's price right now, or stuff like that. Not necessarily what it is, but I think looking at, because what's the opportunity right now for the everyday person? It's not going to be Bitcoin, really. It's going to be the crypto alt markets, right? That's the search that I think we need to be paying attention to, because once that starts to go up, then we start to see some more volumes that come on chain.
Yeah, 100%. I haven't used Google. Do you still use Google? I haven't used Google in over a year, and I use ChatGPT for everything, all my searches.
Yeah, I mean, I still use Google I use ChatGPT for more specialized stuff, or more like if I want to get really deep into something. But if it's a broad, easy kind of information grab, then I'll use Google for it. And then you have people too that just kind of type into the browser area what they're looking for. Google defaults for that. So,
gotcha. BNY Mellon is exploring the launch of tokenized deposits to enable clients to make payments via blockchain. BNY currently processes 2.5 trillion in payments per day and oversees about 55.8 trillion. This is huge because they're basically saying right now you're going to be able to send stable coins from your wallet to BNY Mellon as a deposit. So imagine now you don't have to go really off chain ever. And if you want to withdraw, you can withdraw your money right to the chain itself, right? So potentially having stable coins on any blockchain, and you can deposit pretty much from any, let's just say, top blockchains. This is a game changer. This is absolutely crazy to me that BNY Mellon, one of the biggest banks in the world, it was, fathered by Alexander Hamilton, the person who basically created our financial system, right? And to begin with, BNY Mellon was that bank in New York, and right now they are leading the way here, potentially going to be allowing deposits from stable coins right into your bank account.
So next step with the kind of evolution of merging digital assets into our financial system that currently exists today, there's a lot of pushback, and they try to create a lot of friction, but I think banks like this are realizing it's inevitable, and the more that you delay it, the further behind you get, right? So this is, to me, saying, hey, like, we are on board. Obviously, making that decision is gonna kind of keep them relevant. They're already really big. So
yeah, 100%. I just want to get to a point where I can pay my phone bill with stable coins. I can pay my I can pay my mortgage with stable coins. I can pay my light bill with stable coins. Once that is happening, I wouldn't even use a bank, period. Once I can pay all my bills in stable coins, because there would be no reason to, because I'd rather have custody of my coins rather than a bank, right? So for me, like, this is huge. And don't get me wrong, but this is just the next step into the point where I'm going to be able to pay my light bill and everything with stable coins. But I still love this. I think it's huge. I mean, $2.5 trillion in daily payments a day is BNY Mellon. So
yep, that's exciting.
Yeah, man. Citadel founder Ken Griffin told Bloomberg that investors are turning to gold, silver, and Bitcoin in a debasement trade, seeking the assets seen as safer than the US dollar. A shift he called really concerning. He warned about a substantial asset inflation away from the dollar as investors to de-dollarize and reduce exposure to US sovereign funds or sovereign risk. What do you think about Ken Griffin? We do know he's like the devil, right? He's if you remember anything that happened with GameStop, he was the leading figure in that. Well, one of the leading figures in that. But how do you feel about him right now? Basically saying that, hey, we're about to enter an inflation event for all non-dollar entities.
I mean, he's right about that. It's almost kind of the opposite of in the 70s. Was it 76 whenever we detached from gold backing the dollar? And people got nervous and their bet was on gold. But what happened at that time was that Wall Street basically said, okay, we got to create more and more products for the dollar so we can bring that strength back for that. And they did that. They created all these types of digital, or not digital at the time, but like assets within the stock market, right, that to kind of prop up the dollar. And so the trade was actually for the dollar that you should have made back then. But in this situation, I do think that like TradFi is doing something a little bit similar, but they're doing it for digital assets instead. They're trying to create more products for digital assets, not necessarily the dollar. You know, but then you do have the strategy with the administration trying to back, you know, dollars with stable tokens, or sorry, back stable tokens with the US dollar and treasury bonds, which would help the dollar. But I think people that are very logical and they have all that experience of investing over like decades and decades, they are going to what they feel like is safe. And what is that? Like, you know, tangible assets and gold, silver, and then Bitcoin is something that, you know, I think a lot of their brokerages and consultants are telling them, hey, look, there will only be 21 million ever. You have, you know, the ETF. So TradFi is fully invested into this as well. And so they are looking for something safe because they feel like the uncertainty that we've been going through this past year, more specifically, because it's been more brought up to the surface of our debt and how large is ever before this. Like, we all knew that we had trillions of dollars in debt, like as a country, but it was kind of like, well, we can always just get through it or whatever. But they were just constantly adding to it, you know. But when you have the number one consumer market in the world, you can kind of put band-aids on those things. But once there's like this situation to where and I think the biggest thing is the shift in the kind of political scene in this country. And so it's like trying to clean up those band-aids has been brought to the forefront for the whole country to see. And then that, not just the whole country, now the whole globe. And who owns the debt of our debt? It's other countries, right? Majority. There's some other people, entities and stuff. So now that's why I think, you know, these China and stuff is buying up gold like crazy and stuff like that. So is that good for our market? I think it will be. You know, it's good for these other markets. Obviously, gold's been running like crazy. But you are starting to see like other assets that are tangible that people feel like have been around for a very long time get poured into right now, like the collectibles market, like, you know, Mickey Mantle cards that are like PSA graded being invested in, but they're not putting in, you know, risky tech stocks necessarily. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they're getting away from risk. They have been getting away from risk, but when do we go into the risk on environment? I think it has to be with what they're trying to do with the Fed and, you know, getting, you know, injecting more liquidity into the economy. But is that going to trick these people back into being risk on? I don't know. That's a good question. I think for you, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, risk on's coming. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I mean, so a lot of people are kind of saying that this reminds them of 1999. And everyone knows what happened in 99. It was like one of the biggest, you know, booms in history when it came to inflating the prices of a lot of these tech stocks and risk on assets, right? And actually have a video here with Tudor Jones yesterday on CNBC. Listen to this. He really compares what we're doing right now to 1999 and really puts a light on this. Let me make sure my volume is up here. All right, cool.
You were, I think, dare I say, very pessimistic the last time I saw you here back in May. How do you feel now?
Well, it's like the Prince song. It's 1999. Party like it's 1999, right? Feels exactly like 1999. I don't know whether we'll actually replay it exactly, but I think all the ingredients are in place. And certainly from a trading standpoint, you have to position yourself like it's October 99. I don't see why you would do anything but that. And remember, the NASDAQ doubled between the first week of October 99 and March of 2000.
You were, I think.
So he's basically saying, he's comparing where we are right now with 1999. And he basically, you know, history doesn't always repeat, but it definitely rhymes. And he's basically saying, hey, it was a blow off top in March. And we've seen stocks run the entire year. We've seen gold run the entire year. We've seen Bitcoin run the entire year, to the point where investors are like, well, they already ran. What's running next? So to answer your question again, I just think that risk on is coming, and it's going to be absolutely insane, and we will get a blow off top in March, April, and even May, potentially, if it can go that long. But yeah, I mean, his words right there was somebody who experienced it as a younger person. He was probably like in his 20s and 30s, very similar to where a lot of our industry is right now. A lot of people who are the newer investors are right now, and he experienced it firsthand. And he's saying, hey, it feels exactly like that. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, he sounded confident too when he said it, meaning that he's expecting a similar play out to it. So that's good. But it's also good if you play it correctly, right? So because we know what happened in the following years, to where there was the .com bubble popping and stuff like that. So and you and I have talked about this with our space as well. We expect some sort of situation similar to that, but what happens whenever that that type of bubble pops? First of all, you have to have the extreme strong rise up. We haven't gotten that yet, so I think that would be probably the next 6 to 12 months maybe. And then the true the speculators will speculate on the true winners they feel like will be leading this industry for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I want to take a look at the chart, if you don't mind. So this is the chart. He's talking about the NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ was the hottest thing back then because it was the tech stocks. A lot of the tech stocks. And look, I mean, if you look at this, right, looks very similar to what we experienced, right? Huge upward momentum, kind of going into, into the blow off top. And the blow off top was March, right? And this was the .com bust, right? This was the .com boom and the .com bust. And you see it took, years for it to recover. Even the high, let's just say the high right here is 49. We didn't get back to 49 until 2016. Like that's how bad of a boom bust that was. And look at this right here
now.
But I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of what he's saying. He's saying this looks like this, and he's expecting this. And I'm with him, dude. Like it looks very similar. And like I said, history doesn't always repeat, but it definitely rhymes. Could he be right? We see a blow up top in everything with a huge correction coming in March and April?
Yes. I mean, we could, but I think that's where we got to be careful is, trying, because I get stuck into that to where I'll see like a historical pattern and I'm like, it's happening like this, you know what I mean? So it might not be March and April. It might be February. It might be September, you know what I mean? But I think it could play that way, it could play out that way. And the industries that should benefit the most should be ours, in my opinion, because we're the ones that are newer, we're the ones that are innovative, and you can throw AI in there as well, of course, but that, luckily that rolls into our sector as well.
That is the new tech stocks. AI and crypto are the new tech stocks. This right here, this run up was brought to them by tech stocks, and here this big run up is brought to kind of by Bitcoin and a lot of this other stuff. Or this is when Bitcoin have its big run over the course of the last year or so. So yeah, dude, I just feel like we're about to head in either a terrible bear market that could last 3-4 years, but we're gonna potentially see the most explosive bull run that we've seen since 1999. It's exciting and scary at the same time. But if you're here now, sitting here, he said October. He said the NASDAQ doubled from October to May. That's to say the NASDAQ does double from here. I mean, they could get pretty nuts in every aspect to where, sell everything in March and April and May. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. That's my sell point. I'm going to start selling in March, April, and May for sure.
Yeah.
Try to finish by May.
Yeah, I think that's a solid plan. One little update though, and it's not a great one. It is kind of for the Bitcoin ecosystem real quick. It's the Adderrels collection. They did announce that, here, let me bring this up here. This is interesting. So let me zoom in here so people can see it. So it says, after consideration, we've decided to take Adderrels in a new direction. We'll be developing our own AMM and other exciting apps on BRC 2.0 alongside top-tier devs from ETH and Bitcoin, paving the way for innovation on Bitcoin. And it just basically talks about the consistent delays that Best in Slot has had negative impacts on Adderrels and Acorns. But it says right here, this is the crazy part. And it says, we've decided to migrate Acorns to Solana until BRC 2.0 reaches its final form with live smart AMMs. When the time comes, user will have the options to migrate back. So, and then you can go, it just basically goes into kind of, saying thank you to the community and all this stuff. But yeah, so that's pretty major. And I think that's a pretty big blow and hit to best in slot in the BRC 2.0 movement. But they did say that they're going to be developing their own AMM. But migrating to Solana to have, active activity is the reason why they would do that, in my opinion, right? And so to me, I don't know. Do you think this? What do you think about this?
I mean, I've been in the camp saying BRC 20s are dead for the longest time, right? Their legacy coins will always be looked at as legacy coins. It's just not something, that's they don't have the best people working on it, obviously, right? We've been getting teased by this for over a year, BRC 2.0, and it's here, and you're losing your biggest project. Gone. All right, they're not coming back. They're going to Solana for a reason. I don't think they come back. I think this is the last nail in the coffin for anything BRC 20, in my opinion. Sell your Ordi.
Yeah, well, so it's definitely a huge hit. I wouldn't say that. I think it's really important to see what the best in slot team does after this, because if they don't move quickly, then that I don't know what else you can do to put a fire under somebody's butt. You know what I mean? And first of all, this sucks for the people that are holding BRC 2.0 tokens. So, sorry that happened to that community. But they did say they'll consider BSC chain as well if the demand is there. But look, I do think sometimes that the grass is greener. It seems greener. So bridging to Solana doesn't mean that all of a sudden now their market cap is going to go to $30 million. In fact, I think they're going to struggle, because whenever you bring a Bitcoin native project to a place like Solana or BSC, they don't care about you. They're already in their little tight-knit circle, right? So I actually think that if they're going to move, they should do something like Radfi or Spark or something like that, just because of the branding and who they won't care about you on Solana unless you are huge in Solana and you have pool there. Then it will work, maybe. That's
the problem is they talk so much shit on runes, and that's why they won't pivot to Radfi. Or even Odin, they could be really big on the Acorns, right? So
the Adderrels team did,
yeah, they crushed. They always talk shit on runes, like that's why they're not a runes project. They went that route, so they could go. I think going to ICP or Bob's Computer is way better than going to Solana. But hey, it's a decision. Life's all about decisions and consequences. So we'll have to deal with the consequences of one, building on BRC 20s, which we're dealing with, and two, the building of moving to Solana. So RIP BRC 20s. That's just my opinion. Let's move along though. Vitalik says ZK-based anonymous voting can help protect decisions makers from violent threats. So we talked a lot on the show about governance, right? I didn't even think about this. Imagine, somebody wants you to vote some way that benefits them to the point where they threaten you, if you don't vote that way. Vitalik is actually coming out with a solution to that and saying, hey, they're not going to know how you voted, right? So this is pretty big. This is something I didn't even think was needed. Did you? Did you think something like this was needed for, but basically dark pool the votes for governance tokens?
I mean, could you mask your vote if you were like a founder of the actual protocol and you hold a ton of the tokens? I guess people would just assume. No, I'm just saying because you have ZK based anonymous voting. So my point is adding this will be able to allow them to kind of hide the way they vote as the founders of the protocol. But I think most people will be able to determine how much you hold anyways. And you know what I mean? So they'll be like, okay, we didn't see them actually vote, but we know they hold 60%. So that if the vote went in the favor that they would want anyways, they probably get it.
Yeah, that's true. But you just don't know for sure anymore, right? Like, let's just say you hold, 6% of the supply. You're not really going to be, with your 6% of the supply. I mean, you can really push it one way or the other. But now it's kind of like, did they go? Are you lying to me? There's no real way of telling with these dark pools using ZK based anonymous voting. I like I said, I didn't know this was needed. until now, but apparently it is. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. This one is interesting. So X1, very out of the norm. We don't really talk about anything like this ever. But X1 is something that is brought to everyone by I was a huge Zen guy. This is the why I put this in the news, right? This is 100% me. Blame me for this stuff. If you see anything, but Jack Levin posted a tweet here. He says, 210 nodes joining X1. X1 is now on Mainnet. So if you go over to the chain here, Zen.network, you can see for the first time, you can connect your wallet to the Zen network, and you can actually play on X1. I'm going to be playing on this. I want to be early to a lot of this stuff. I weirdly believe in Jack Levin. I weirdly believe in the Zen community, and I believe that they're crazy holders. They hold everything. Shout out to the great, damn, why is his name slipping my head?
Something
Crypto bro. No, bro, right?
Oh yeah,
So
crypto bro.
So shout out to Crypto Bro. Yeah, I don't know. I'm bullish on this. It is now live, X1. So I'll be connecting my wallet today, and you can see that there is already 200,000 blocks, 200 that have gone so far, and their DEX is coming out. So if you are interested in this is as xdex.xyz. It's not live yet. I'm going to be playing on them on live because I do think that's going to be an airdrop potentially as well. I don't know. You have any interest in playing on this? I know you're not a big fan of Jack.
Yeah, I mean, there's parts of I like, okay, so I think I can cut him some slack because there was it didn't matter if you built the VMPX bridge at that time. There was just not going to be movement in that type of protocol at that time. But he definitely plays the part in hyping things up and kind of creating this a beautiful picture of people thriving, and I know a lot of people do that in the space, but for some reason it just bugged me a little bit more when the way he did it, because I felt like he was easily able to get so much support, and he got a ton, and he would feed off of being one of the first employees at Google, and that is this whole story thing that will flow into it, only to be kind of let down. But look, I mean, those type of people create liquidity type of situations in bullish times. Let's see if he can do it. He actually hasn't proven himself yet. The fact that he rolled Zen out, it wasn't a huge success or anything. It was supposed to be. So this is his time to kind of shine, I guess, and we'll see what happens with it. Isn't it? It's an SVM fork, right?
Yeah, it's a Solana fork. So with Zen, he's always told everyone, hey, Zen is a long-term play, right? So Zen's inflation drops drastically this year, this fourth year. So fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, eighth year is when pretty much there's no inflation. It actually goes deflationary in a couple of years. So Zen hasn't been proven a failure yet. He did build the VMPX bridge. No one used it, but there is a VMPX on Ethereum, and you can bridge from Bitcoin. So he built everything he's ever talked about. He's done. He hyped it up, but no one used it. So it's it is. He did get it there. It is.
Wasn't he supposed to do something with Libra though, to where they were supposed to do something together? I forgot what it is, but yeah, I do remember that the VMPX bridge did happen, and it basically obliterated the market cap on both sides, though. Eventually,
well, he doubled the supply, right? Because he needed so he basically did a pre-sale, or not a pre-sale. It was a mint on for the LP pool. So he put all the funds that he did the pre-sale into the LP pool on Ethereum, and you were able to bridge your Bitcoin to over there, because it was he just doubled the supply basically. But every BRC20 went to zero. So besides Ordi and Sats, but it's just one of the, I don't know. I think that he's going to create something cool here. Well,
I mean, and I do think his initial injecting himself into the Bitcoin ecosystem was more innocent, probably. Whenever he would join the frogs, I mean, he at one point he was kind of like one of us, to where he was joining the frog spaces. He was saying Ribbit. He was all about part of that thing. But I think what happened is that I think he overestimated his ability to build something that can make those assets like highly fungible, and they were just barely fungible. If you want to even count that, they were really not fungible, you know.
Well,
I mean, that's
everyone
how,
in the Bitcoin space, any you
yeah,
can say about
yeah,
any
yeah,
builder
yeah,
in the
yeah,
Bitcoin
yeah,
space.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there was all these fake dexes coming out at the time, and we were like, "Come on, someone just do it!" And
I know.
without really understanding at the time, because we just had started covering the Bitcoin ecosystem, just the limitations and friction was just it was impossible to do at the time. It was had to be completely off chain.
Yeah, centralized, but shout to DotSwap. They apparently did it. So,
Yeah.
you know, it did take years later, but they did promise and they kept up their promise. But yeah, I see, you know, what you're saying. But yeah, remember too is like Jack's never been in a bull run. Like Jack came out his first time I ever heard his name was 2022, right? September 2022 is when he launched Zen. So it's one of those things where it's like, let's see what he can do in a bull market. And you know, a Solana fork with a little bit of Zen users. I don't know. Sounds really interesting, but we'll see. Again, this is very risky. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'm just saying what I plan on doing here. But it looks like this is our show, guys. I don't have anything else. We got 316 people in here, 165 on X, 126 on Twitch, and 25 on YouTube. Appreciate every single one of you guys, not to mention everyone on Kick, Abstract, Rumble, and Spotify later.
Absolutely. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without you guys, we could not do this. So thank you guys so much. But also without our partners, we couldn't do it. And we're very thankful for them. And if you could check them out, we would greatly appreciate it. Sats Terminal is the DEX aggregator swap for 3 Bitcoin fungible token standards. It's Bitcoin runes, alkanes, and now the Bitcoin sparked tokens, which is the Bitcoin is BTKN. I always get those flipped, man. But yeah, so they already have the Spark swap live, so you can swap for UTXO and Flash Sparks, which are the 2 most popular tokens within that standard right now. But you're going to earn points whenever you swap for any of those 3 standards, right? If you're swapping for runes, if you're going to swap for alkanes or the Sparks tokens, you will earn Amber points. And Amber points are a point system that's going to be going towards givebacks to early adopters. So make sure you take advantage of that. Also, just a heads up, if once Spark does go live and these launch pads are going to be going very fast, you can actually use Sats Terminal to be able to swap from, because they're going to aggregate from all 3 locations. So in my opinion, it's going to be like the one-stop shop. So you got to take advantage of that. Also, they have their Bitcoin borrowing product. So make sure you check into that. They have really great rates with that. You can actually get some stables against your Bitcoin and then use those stables to degen, make more Bitcoin, and then pay your loan, and then you will be up, right? That's the idea, obviously, but make sure you check that out as well. Follow them on X. It's at Sats Terminal. Check them out at satsterminal.com. And then Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer for the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to jump your Bitcoin ordinals or Bitcoin NFTs like counterparty NFTs, rare pepes, etc., you can do so with Emblem Vault. Right now, you can actually jump your Taproot Wizard from Bitcoin to Ethereum and take a loan out against it on the Gandhi application, which is the largest Ethereum NFT lending protocol. Also, they're going to be opening up for other chains in the future. Think Ethereum L2s, Bitcoin L2s like Merlin, etc., and eventually Solana, of course. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in the Solana ecosystem called AgentHustle.ai. If you go to AgentHustle.ai, you can actually ask Hustle to find you a couple solid plays in the Solana ecosystem. He'll bring back a couple options and tell you why he thinks that these are solid options for you. And then also he has a conditional trading engine built in him. So you can actually say, hey, buy Fartcoin whenever it drops 20%, sell it when I'm up 100%. He'll take care of that trade execution for you on your behalf. You can go do whatever you need to do, work out, go to the grocery store, whatever. There are subscription levels to Agent Hustle. There is a free one. It is limited with the specific tool sets, but if you get the higher subscription, those tool sets open up to you. Also, if you use the Hustle token, which is the single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem, you get a discount if you use that token. So lastly, they have this product called migrate.fund. They are wrapping up their first cohort. Much success in this first cohort. So congratulations to all the teams that migrated over. Some big named projects in there, and they're getting ready for their second cohort. So if you are interested in migrating from Pump Fund to Bonk or Bonk to Pump Fund, any launchpad that has liquidity stuck in there, they can assist you in getting that migration going. So head over to migrate.fun and reach out to the team, and they can get you started on the next steps. If you're interested, if you launch the coin and you have a project and community, they will get you started there. And then head over to emblem.vision to learn about everything I just broke down. And then Artura.finance is the percent leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're going to have some big announcements soon, but we're going to have them, actually, we're going to be on their show that we kind of co-host, right, at 2 p.m. Eastern, called The Trader's Edge. So it should be fun. We're going to talk about this specific scenario of Bitcoin kind of dumping and what to expect here the next couple days. But if you are interested in a trading competition, they have a trading competition that's going on for another week and a half. If you go to compete tab on Artura.finance, you can see who's in the top 3 places there. All you got to do is place first to win that 5,000 USDC, and then second, third, and fourth, I think, are splitting an additional 5,000 USDC, and they have some ARA tokens as well that's going to be going into that pool. So make sure you check that out as well. Head over to Artura.finance today. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength through the power of AI. We had Jeff on yesterday. This team has been crushing it at every conference lately, but the Wizard 2.0 can guide you through the Merlin Chain ecosystem. It can also swap for tokens on BNB right now. BNB is hot for, right now. So it can swap for you on your behalf. Also, Solana is a chain that they are focused on doing that as well. It can guide you through the Merlin Chain ecosystem. It can do DeFi swaps. It can stake for you as well. Speaking of staking, they have the proof of stake security model for the Merlin Chain ecosystem there. And there's 3 ways for you to participate. The first one is staking Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. Their first staking vault ended September 30th. On average, they got a 17% APR return for their users that staked Bitcoin. That is amazing to get that APR, right? So the second staking vault, there will be details on once this goes live. So make sure you are following them on X so you can get in right whenever they open that up. And then there's 2 options for the Merlin Chain token. There's the flexible, which is a day-to-day. You can claim your rewards every single day as well. You earn 15% APR. You can roll those into a compound interest strategy. It does take 7 days to pull that out, though, so there's a cooldown period there. And lastly is the bonded staking vault program, which is a 6-month lockup, but you get 45% APR. Same thing, you can claim those rewards daily in compound interest, though. So really, really awesome that they allow you to do that. So check that out as well, and go to merlinchain.io to learn more about what they're building there. The team is awesome. They're constantly grinding. So thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man. As always on that. If you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out OnChain Revolution.io. It's some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. We really feel like it can help them get started and caught up to where we are today. Definitely check out these articles here. We have so many different ones. You can check them all out back to back to back. They're about 3 to 4 minute reads. You can really learn what is going on in the markets. If you guys need a VPN, I highly recommend Nord. Nord is my personal favorite here. You lock it for 2 years, right? Set it, forget it. See you in more than that. You actually get an extra 3 months. So you got to get 27 months for $3 a month. Well, actually, $66 will get you 27 months. Definitely, if you're interested in that, highly recommend using our link here. This will allow you to use sites like Hyperliquid, NYSE, and so many more that geo-block you right now if you're in the US and other places. So definitely get a VPN if you want to avoid that. VPNs are legal. There's nothing illegal about a VPN, and it'll actually give you access to anything. It is not your country that is blocking you from these sites. It is the site itself just trying to put safety stuff for them. And a lot of these sites don't even care if you use a VPN. They just want to have that, in there for anybody who, so they don't get in trouble. So definitely, but you can use them if you get a VPN. So definitely check that out. And, if you want merch, we have some of the best merch in all of crypto. Check everything out. Hats, shirts, jackets, and so much more. All at OnChain Revolution.io. Remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain Revolution call. Market recap. You not bullish enough. No, you're not bullish enough. No. Look at the price go. Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed, gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain revolution.